Thank you for joining today's webinar on promoting evidence-based policymaking to tackle marine plastic pollution in Asia Pacific. This is co-organized by the Ministry of Environment Japan, MOJ, United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, and Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, IGS. I'm going to be a moderator today's webinar. So my name is Prema Kumara from IGS. To officially start the webinar, I would like to invite Mr. Hiroshi Ono, Senior Advisor to the Ministry of Environment Japan, and the Executive Director of IGS, to give opening remarks. Mr. Ono, please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Kumara-san, for your kind introduction. And good morning and good afternoon, everyone. And I'm pleased to welcome you all to this virtual event. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to OECD, UNEP, and IGES for organizing this event. And also to Ms. Wasana from the government of Thailand for joining this webinar as a speaker at such an important timing before, just before the Inc. 5.2. Over the past decades, the rising concerns over environmental and health impacts of plastics have pushed the management of this unique and widely utilized substance at the forefront of global environmental policy discussion. In 2022, countries agreed in Nairobi to initiate the international negotiation process for the development of an internationally legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. The global community is now in a decisive phase to finalizing the negotiations at Inc. 5.2 in Geneva. Discussions around implementing measures such as implementation and compliance, national plans, reporting, and effectiveness evaluation illustrate the importance of evidence-based policymaking. Since a decade ago, when several major scientific publications prompted global response to plastic pollution, data have played a central role in cultivating policy discussions and actions. At times, the accuracy and reliability of data provoked controversy. However, I trust that none would deny the importance of generating, compiling, and having access to up-to-date, comparable, and policy-relevant data that enable evidence-based policy making, or EBPM in short. Understanding the state of production, consumption, fate, and the environmental impact of plastics is a critical basis for developing and implementing effective policy response at the national, regional, and global levels. At the national level, the establishment of national data management systems is instrumental, which compile relevant data on plastics in the economy and the environment, and more importantly, support the development and implementation of National Action Plan and its reporting. Without such systems in place, the global governance combating plastic pollution expected to be established by the new treaty could not work properly. In addition, it is also important to ensure comparability of data across countries through harmonized methodologies and format, and to promote enhanced data access to drive concerted action towards the global objectives. While today's webinar is specifically directed to the audience of Asia Pacific region, I trust these issues are common to us all as we prepare ourselves to the Inc. 5.2 early next month. With the determination of reaching an agreement, since Inc. discussions have been highlighting the urgent need to institutionalize monitoring and reporting mechanisms. In this context, we are pleased to jointly organize this webinar to shed light on examples of how information relevant to plastic pollution is embedded in the policy cycle at the country level, as well as gaps, potential challenges, and ongoing initiatives and available tools. First, we are honored to have the Pollution Control Department of Thailand to share the experience of promoting EBPM in Thailand. Second, the Ministry of Environment of Japan will share efforts on science-based policy making, including recently launched microplastics global database based on the harmonized methodologies. Third, building on the global plastic outlook in 2022, the OECD has developed forthcoming regional plastics outlooks for the ASEAN +3 region, which further strengthen analysis of plastic pollution and policy responses in the region. Fourth, UNEP Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter, GPML, has established Global Plastic Hub, a one-stop platform for data, knowledge, and collaboration to end plastic pollution, to accelerate access to policy-relevant data and to advance actions. Lastly, IGES will present the G20 report on actions against marine plastic litter, continuously published since 2019, to take stock of the latest policy responses and accelerate mutual learning, not only within the G20, but among a wide range of participating countries. I hope today's webinar would serve as an opportunity to update you on the recent initiatives for promoting EBPM and addressing plastic pollution. They would also help us identify some of the key issues to be taken up at the treaty negotiations next month. Let us continue to strengthen our shared understanding, elevate regional voices, and contribute meaningfully to the design of global systems that are informed by data, rooted in national realities, and capable of driving real change. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Onosato, for your warm welcome and also giving very good introduction to today's webinar. So I think that I don't need to do any introduction, additional introduction, because you gave a very good introduction what's happening today. Without not taking much time, so I think I will go to introduce our speakers to make their presentation. As Onosato mentioned, so we have very good speakers covering different levels from national and also regional and global. So as a first speaker, let me going to introduce Dr. Noriko Tamiya Hase, the Deputy Director, Office of Plastic Policies Against Marine Plastic Pollution, Ministry of Environment, Japan. So she will explain us about harmonization of methodologies for monitoring marine plastic litter with experience of Japan. So Hase-san, so floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kumara-san, for introducing, and thank you again for giving us an opportunity to present Japan's activities related to harmonized monitoring and for evidence-based policy making. So the next slide, please. And let me start an aspect of INC negotiation. This is an outline of the chair's text proposed at the last day of INC 5.1. And articles in red circles are talking about the necessity of monitoring or research for knowing the real condition of plastics leaked in the environment. And articles in green circles refer a necessity of data for implementing those measures to stop this leakage, or checking progress and evaluate effectiveness of treaty. And this is not exhaustive list, but from this mapping exercise, it is visible that data and monitoring are related to many articles and quite fundamental for treaty implementation. And next slide, please. So if we look at the issue from data flow, this is a material flow of plastics. What we aim is to stop leaking plastics into the environment in the orange area to avoid the situation like the photos in the right-hand side. But for realizing this, this material flow also tells us that we need to strengthen activities in purple areas too, namely production, consumption, and waste management. Or we need some cleanup activities in the environment. Next slide, please. So Japan has been working for several years to stop this leakage of the leaders into the environment, including plastics, at various stages of the full life cycle of plastics. And for example, at production and consumption stage, we should avoid use of unnecessary plastics, promoting environmental friendly production design, or promote research and development of alternative materials. And lots of industries in Japan are making efforts for these stages. Or as a user of plastic products, we should properly dispose the plastic litters or should not do illegal dumping. And this is our behavioral changes matter. But in reality, we still have litters in the environment. So we need collection efforts by cleanup activities at river banks or coastal areas too. And next slide, please. But for developing effective policies necessary for these activities, we need to identify the pollution sources and hotspots. And Japan is doing many monitoring for knowing this source and hotspots. And this slide is the list of objectives of monitoring, namely environmental monitoring, discussed at the G20 workshop in 2020, together with policymakers and experts in G20 and beyond. So objectives of monitoring are varied. And next slide, please. And for getting this data related to source and hotspots, for example, in Japan, we are asking the local governments to do the cleanup activities and do some composition analysis of beach litter. And this composition analysis has started since 2020. And now all of 47 prefectures in Japan are reporting the result data to us, and we can develop ranking of artificial litters at national level. An upper table is by numbers, and lower table is by weight. And from this information, because we see several fishing gears, it tells us necessity of working with fishing industry or related organization and agencies. Or we find many plastic products like bottles, ropes, plastic bags, food containers. We can discuss which kind of a product we should work on and with whom. So it tells us the necessary stakeholders. And at the INC, Article 3 is discussing the plastic products to be handled in the treaty. And high likelihood of leaking into the environment is one of the criteria of sorting out the target product. And this kind of ranking data is useful as an evidence for applying this criterion. Next slide, please. But for utilizing those kind of data, we need qualified data. For example, the data which have comparability or which covers wide areas, or having time series data is also important when we use the data for policy making. Next slide, please. So this is why we are working on many guidelines development domestically as well as internationally. And the left-hand side is for the guidelines mainly targeted at local governments so that we can ensure comparability and wide coverage. If we ask those data collection at the local government, then it could get more data than doing only by national government. And the ranking data in the previous slide is based on one of those guidelines, the guidelines for composition analysis. And we can produce national level ranking because the data is coming from harmonized methodologies by the guidelines. And the right-hand side, those are internationally harmonized guidelines. And let me explain more details about the international guidelines with following slides. The next slide. And green parts are for the guidelines on ocean surface microplastics. Our first step was to develop guidelines for monitoring methodologies like speed of vessels or equipment of sampling, like Newton net or plankton net, and also equipment for analysis like FTIR. And the right-hand side is the database for compiled data at global level. And this database also has a mapping function for research point, density, and historical trends. And those are based on our commitment at the G20. But the benefit is now beyond the G20, and everyone can upload the data and at the same time download the data. The monitoring methodology itself is quite technical regarding this green areas guidelines and the database, and maybe limited to the researchers about the guidelines. But the outcome, the result, the database is also accessible to all, so beneficial to all. And second example is the guidelines for marine litter monitoring utilizing remote sensing technology, so the lower side one. And unlike the upper guidelines for ocean source microplastics, this remote sensing one is targeted to more wider scope of users, including local governments. And the first version published last year was focused on UAV, so-called drone. And the second version, which was recently published, is targeting the fixed camera. And it has two parts. One is for how to use the platforms like drone and fixed camera. And the second part is for the image analysis using AI from image from the photos taken by the platform. And the remote sensing technology has high potential for wider monitoring coverage. Now we are having a training course for those guidelines domestically and internationally so that we can get entire picture of plastics in the environment at domestic, regional, and also the global level. Next slide, please. And especially AOMI, the database for the ocean surface microplastics, the guidelines is targeted scientists, but the data is for all, as I said previously, and the general public can also access and see the result of the density of the plastics or hotspots of the plastics. And also it could be used for us, for example, if we know that some kind of threshold for the toxicity of microplastics, then we can check whether the density in the real environment is lower or higher that threshold. And next slide, please. But at this moment, we have collected data in some areas, but at the same time, we have the other areas where we lack the data. So in the future, as on future activities, we'd like to fill the gap and to have the entire pictures. And next slide, please. And another objective of monitoring is assessing current pollution levels. And next slide, please. Up to now, I have talked mainly about so-called environmental monitoring, but the data is limited to the survey point areas for the environmental monitoring because the field survey requires a physical and economical cost, and we cannot extend the survey area endlessly. But on the other hand, for policy making at national level, we need national data. And for getting this national level data, we do need some estimation exercise. And for knowing the level of pollution, these could be another approach to utilize the macro statistical data on production, consumption, and waste. And we call this approach as material flow analysis. Next slide, please. And in fact, there are so many estimation methodologies now. And now we are trying to classifying these existing methodologies, focusing on difference of input data. And one data type is macro data on production or consumption or waste management. And other data type is field survey data. So I colored in blue and orange. And OECD is also doing some estimation, using some estimation models, and that will be presented in the later stage from OECD. And each method that has different targeted objective and necessary data at each life cycle is varied depending on the methodologies, or the data or data owner are different. Some statistical data is held by the Ministry of Industry, but many environmental data are held by Ministry of Environment. So we cannot say that which one is good or bad. And next slide, please. So we are now making the steps needed for selecting the best appropriate methodologies. And firstly, identify the purpose. Secondly, targeted indicator as an output of the estimation. And thirdly, consider the data availability. So together with the data table in the previous slide, we'd like to develop some guidelines for selecting an appropriate methodologies for estimation. And not only by us, but for example, World Bank is also working on the similar approaches. And it is very encouraging that many are working on the same direction. And today, I mainly talked about harmonization efforts for so-called environmental monitoring or some estimation methodologies. But monitoring is necessary for a governance at or policy level too. And today, other speakers will cover the topic of governance side monitoring and also data collection and sharing, including policy and industry side. And iron sheet negotiation, this kind of technical discussion on harmonization of methods and data might be at later stage, but it is necessary. So today I'm very happy to discuss further for developing more transparent and evidence-based policy making mechanism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hase-san, for giving very insightful presentation about the importance of harmonization. And it shows us also something like how complex is plastic management from production to leakage and data issues. So thank you very much for giving this presentation. So next, I think audience also have a lot of questions. I'm sorry, the time also have limitations. Maybe we will think about taking any few questions if possible in the panel discussion session. So first I will go to have all presentations and then we will see how to get. But you can put your question in the question and answer box. So we will take the notes and maybe later if we cannot answer this time, but maybe later we will address them individually. So please bear of that. So next, I would like to invite the Ms. Vassana to give us a presentation from Thailand. Ms. Vassana is how can I explain her name correctly? It's a little difficult, but she will share with us the Thailand experience in developing the National Plastic Action Plan based on data-driven policy making. She is a senior professional level environmentalist, pollution control department, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, Thailand. So, Ms. Vassana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kumara, and good morning and Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I would like to thank you for inviting me to share our perspective on how Thailand is developing and implement the National Action Plan on the plastic waste management, and why we have the after we may I share the screen. Yes. This you can see my slides.
Yes,
Yes.
can see.
Okay. Yes. So today I would like to highlight you that after we established the roadmap and the action plan on the plastic waste in Thailand, what we found about the like a monitoring system or before we starting to establish the plastic waste management action plan, what we collect the data, and when we implement the action plan, we made some obstacle of the data and information for the policymaker to set up the target to reduce the plastic pollution. So today I would like to share you about the key stakeholder in Thailand who is involved in the plastic management in Thailand, and we will share with you about the essential data elements and how data can guide effective for the policy makers. So this slide you will see that the plastic management in Thailand is multi-sectoral. There are many sectors in Thailand to involve in the plastic management, especially for the government agency. We have to pay the regulatory and the implementation laws, and we have many ministry in Thailand to involve for the plastic management. And for the research and academic, we have the research institute and the university to study for the data collection, and we have actually we have many study and research on the data on plastic, but it's not in the, it's how to say, it's separate in each department, so it's hard and difficult to collect them in the one data, or we need the data from the entire life cycle of plastic, but the research is just only for, it's like just only one point for the downstream, or sometimes we have only for the midstream for the consumer behavior, and sometimes we don't have from the upstream to downstream. And for the stakeholder, is the most important is the private sector. In Thailand, they have to play the role for the transition for the circular economy and sustainable plastic management in Thailand, from the product design and implement some scheme like EPR scheme and data reporting, and they have sometimes public awareness and partnership. And the last, I think, is we have the NGO in our country have strong activity to bridging the gap between the community, government, and many agencies in Thailand. Right now, we all stakeholders we join to set the policy and plan, and we have implement the action on the reduce the plastic pollution together. For the next, the previous slide show that is many sectoral for the plastic in Thailand. This is slideshow is only for the government sector. We have many ministry in Thailand to look for the plastic, such as for the policy maker, like a pollution control department under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. We have the policy and plan to pushing the circular economy concept for the waste management in Thailand, and we have the Department of Marine and Coastal Resources to have the policy and plan to prevent the leakage of the marine litter and marine debris in Thailand, and they have the technology and many activities to prevent the leakage of the waste to the ecosystem. And for the other, such as for Ministry of Industry, they have the regulate to plastic manufacturer, including for the material and the product design. And for another, like the Ministry of Interior, they have the Department of Local Administration to oversee the solid waste management in the ground, and they oversee the local government to the collection, waste separation, and sometimes for the waste disposal. For another ministry, such as for the Ministry of Public Health, they oversee for the health impact of the plastic product, and sometimes for especially for the packaging is contact food contact packaging. Maybe they have to regulate for the public health. And you can see that there are many sectors for the plastic in Thailand. When we implement the action plan, we found that sometimes we have the necessary element for plastic data monitoring to guide the plastic policy effective. We need the structured data such as the standardized methodology to ensure consistent reporting and comparison. Because sometimes we it's a different methodology or standard. We cannot count it in the same level of the information. So what we count as the plastic leakage, or how to measure the recycling, or how to set the target of the recycling, how to compare with the production and the use and the recovery to recycle, how to set up the recycle target or the reuse target. We need the same standard. So if not, we cannot compare in different countries. Even for the in our country, it's different place, different the local government, maybe they misunderstand the standard or the level of the information is not in the same level. So, and the data must be spanned to the entire plastic life cycle, from the production to the final disposal. And we need to count for the leakage and the turn back to utilization, because sometimes we have only for just only one point of the information, is not the whole life cycle of the information of the plastic. And we need to build the capacity building for the staff or the people who involved in the collection or the process or report the data. And many data is not it's like is under for the responsible of the each department. So it's a different data, and it cannot be, it's like we cannot be used for the policy maker to set up the target or set up to the monitor plan for the plastic in our country. So this slide shows the example of the data across the life cycle of plastic. In the past, maybe it's more than 5 or 6 years ago, we have the data collection with the collaborate with the university and research institute to investigate the downstream plastic management. We only investigate for the downstream waste management which we found in the landfill or the final disposal, but we don't have any information from the upstream. So when we set the target on the roadmap or the action plan on plastic waste, we set the target that what we found in the landfill or the final disposal the most. For example, we found that the single-use plastic, such as the plastic bag for the shopping bag, is the most composition in the landfill. We try to set the target why we should to reduce the single-use plastic like this or some kind of the problematic plastic. So we set up from the information we found in the landfill, in the environment, even in the marine ecosystem, but we don't have any information to compare with the upstream information. So we need more data from the upstream data from the production, the imports, export, and material used to produce the product. And in the midstream management, we need how to product are used, such as a single use, or some products can reuse. How many they produce and how many they use and how many times they reuse some materials. And for the downstream, we need to know the collection, the recycling, and the landfill or linkage of the waste in the environment. But sometimes the local government is collect the data in each the local government. Sometimes they have the different information, and we cannot compare between the local government. And we think that this is the big impact of the gaps that we have right now. And this chart it shows for the data for the EPR packaging management. Right now we propose the law or the draft law on the sustainable packaging waste management in Thailand, which include for the plastic packaging also. So we found that we need more information about the EPR scheme on the packaging. We need for the plastic packaging is placed on the market, as well as for the data on the production and import in our countries. And sometimes we need to know the financial data for the infrastructure for taking back for the packaging to reuse or recycle. And for the monitoring and compliance data, we need to ensure that it's transparency and accountability and data on the public behavior and participation. We will have the user-friendly system design also. So what does the strong data that the system needs? So the reliable and high quality data and clear standardization we need, and we must to build the capacity at the national and local level also. The data system must be connected and transparent to allow the stakeholder participation, and we also need effective monitoring and clear policy and link the metrics. And as you know, I think many countries use the modern tools like AI or GIS and the remote sensing for the improve for the information collection data. And I think the data must be continuously updated every 3 to 5 years. Some type of data, such as for the monitoring the plastic linkage in the environment or the water sources, should be available on the real-time monitor. I think it's really important for the policy maker to keep the data for the set the target. So finally, I would like to say that if we have no clear data, it's no direction for the policy maker, and data on the material throughout the entire life cycle of plastic will empower the policy maker to make the measurable and impactful for the decision to reduce the plastic pollution and promote the circular economy for plastic in our country and in our regions also. Thank you very much. If you have any question, maybe we can share with you in the discussion session, and or you can send me an email also. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Ms. Basana, for sharing with us Thailand experience in developing national action plan and the data-driven policy making, especially EPR development. So I understand the importance of capacity building in developing countries when we're looking at this data. Harmonization is very important, as you highlighted. So thank you very much. So then we will go to another two presentations, one from regional reports. The first one is our colleagues from OECD. So I would like to invite Dr. Ruben Bibas, Economics, Environment and Economic Integration Division, Environmental Directorate, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, to share with us their regional plastic outlook for Asia and the Pacific, which is going to be launched soon, where Ruben will share with us the initial results and then its launching situations. Dr. Ruben, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kumar-san. Can you hear me and see the slides well?
Yes.
Yes.
Clear, and
Thank you.
we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you for this opportunity to present this work. So it's a team effort. One member of the team is also online today, Rob, but there's also more team members at the OECD that work on this. So we developed a regional plastics outlook for Southeast and East Asia, also in collaboration with IGES area, and as well as a lot of the ASEAN countries were consulted within the OECD process. So first, why are we looking at this region? So we are looking at specifically at the ASEAN +3, which is the bulk of Southeast and East Asia, because it's an important economic hub. It's the fastest growing region globally, over 5% in the past couple of years. It's about 27 trillion GDP, so a third of global GDP. It has a very large and growing middle class, from 540 million people in 2020 to over 700 million by 2030. So that has a huge impact in terms of plastics use that will grow tremendously in this region. And it's also, of course, a crucial hub in global supply chain, especially for manufacturing, electronics that are consumers of plastics. In terms of the different size of the applications of plastics, packaging is still the biggest part of plastics use. Construction as well, textiles, transportation. So it's quite in line with global values. What might be a bit different is that then the share of packaging in waste is much higher than, or it's higher than the global average. So it might lead to leakage into the environment, and which calls to what's the current situation for plastics in the APT. So we started with we looking at the literature, and for instance, out of the 122 polluted rivers, which carry 90% of plastic pollution in the ocean. 83% are in Asia. So it's a very important region for managing plastic leakage and trying to eliminate it. Currently, its APT is ASEAN plus 3 is accounting for 1/3 of global plastic leakage, 40% of leakage reaching the ocean. So it leaks every year almost 9 million tons to the environment, almost 3 million tons to aquatic environment, and there's already 62 million tons in lakes, rivers, and oceans in the region. So that's on the side of what the generation of plastic, the leakage of plastics into the environment. It's also important to note that the region is quite vulnerable to plastic leakage, and the challenge is aggravated by the region's geography with long and densely populated coastlines, rivers that carry plastics, as well as countries that are composed of many islands, making plastics leakage to the environment more prevalent. So after this introduction, we built on the prior analytical work of global plastics outlook and policy scenarios for eliminating plastic pollution by 2040 that had a global focus. We used the same modeling framework, but applying it to Southeast and East Asia to provide comprehensive mapping of the plastics life cycle, as well as a stocktake of current policies in the 13 APT countries. So ASEAN, China, Japan, and Korea. And with that, we are able to to provide baseline projections to 2050 of the environmental impacts of plastic throughout the plastics life cycle. And we propose comprehensive policy package on how the region can eliminate plastic pollution. Of course, calculating the costs of those policy package for the region. In this modeling, I want to emphasize that we are trying to incorporate as much of the regional heterogeneity as we can. For example, we specifically isolated Thailand and Indonesia, which are upper middle income countries and lower middle income countries, and then split the rest by income level. So high and upper middle income countries, so Brunei, Malaysia, and Singapore, and then the rest of the lower middle income country together. I want to emphasize that with that we're trying to reflect the diversity. For instance, in per capita plastics use, it's 32 kilogram per capita in the lower middle income country in ASEAN, 73 kilograms in China, and over 100 kilograms in Japan, Korea, and most of the high and upper middle income countries. Another manifestation of this heterogeneity is it can be seen in the waste management capabilities. There are significant mismanagement shares especially in ASEAN, ranging from 27% waste mismanagement, plastic waste mismanagement rate in Thailand, to 72% in Indonesia, and 26% still in China. So we're really trying to capture all of these differences and projected dynamics in these countries. So first, looking at the current policies, which reveals considerable progress and opportunities for enhanced action. So looking at the policies aimed at closing leakage pathways. So basically, when you see one type of policy here, the full circle represents the 13 countries, and we're just giving the share of countries that have these in place. You can see 4 policies aimed at closing leakage pathways, so mostly waste management, and those policies are present in most of the countries. For instance, plastic waste ban or scrap ban, anti-dumping laws, and waste segregation at source. However, in many of these countries, the policies could be more strictly enforced, and that is an issue in many countries in the region. However, when we look at policies aimed at incentivizing recycling and sorting at source, those are still in the early stages. So they exist in some countries and are in place, but in many countries, there's still no policies happening or missing data, which could be assumed as we didn't find any information, so it probably doesn't exist either. And a similar picture arises for policies aimed at restraining plastic demand and designing for circularity. They're very diverse, vary in stringency, and many countries still don't have them in place. So it's a contrasted picture where there's a lot of progress, a lot of policy action, but still a lot of room for improvement and for making the policies more efficient in addressing the issue of plastic pollution. So with our modeling tool, we managed to do two different things. The first one will be that we present our projections to 2050 with current policies, so a baseline scenario, and that shows that plastic pollution will amplify by 2050, even with those policies I just mentioned. And then I'll go into policy scenarios. So here you have plastics use in 1990, 2022, and 2050. You saw there's already ninefold growth between 1990 and 2022. So it's impressive and very quick compared to other countries in the world. It's also projected to increase quite a lot, more than double, almost double by 2050, and still comprise 30% of the global plastics use. Similar picture for waste, quite logically. There's a delay between plastics use and plastic waste because of the time that the products are used. So if you think about the plastics that are in your cars or in your appliances, you keep them for 5, 10 years, 15 years, and then they go to waste. So there's a delay, but the picture is quite similar. Sorry, I should have mentioned that the growth is quite significant and fast, especially in ASEAN countries. It's where the growth is the fastest in the region. In terms of recycling, that's more of the good news, where even in baseline projections, recycling is projected to increase quite a lot, reaching almost 20% for the APT as a whole, which constitutes about 37% of the total volumes of recycled plastics. And finally, in terms of leakage, you have two contrasting trends. One is an improvement in waste management. Clearly, you have a reduction in mismanaged in the rate of mismanagement. At the same time, you have an increase in the waste that you can see in the second chart. So in the two, you end up with a slowing down in the increase in the growth of plastic leakage, but still a growth because of the increase in waste. To give you a bit more focused picture, plastic waste generation is still 31% compared to the world. 24% of that is still mismanaged, with a noted improvement in recycling. And of that, 6% of the total plastic waste generation is leaked. So that's where we focus on, because that's the metric that we look at with our policies. But the rest of the mismanaged can be dumped or often burned in open burning, which is also a very important issue. So what can we do about that? Ambitious action throughout the plastics life cycle can nearly eliminate all plastic leakage, and that's what we really want to convey. We are implementing a policy package that go through all of the plastics life cycle, through curbing plastics demand and production, enhancing recycling, design for circularity, as well as closing leakage pathways, so dealing with waste management. And this ambitious action could reduce plastic leakage, could eliminate plastic leakage with modest costs. So here I present the plastics use, for instance, in the high ambition scenario where we implement this policy package. And the main result here is that plastic demand is, the growth in plastics use is slowed down quite significantly. And mostly, most of the all of the new demand for plastics can be addressed with recycled plastics. So you have a decrease in the use of primary plastics in the region. In terms of plastics waste management, the region can reach above 50% of recycling. And almost an elimination of mismanaged waste. Some of the applications are very hard to stop from road markings to littering to fishing gear. So there are quite small numbers, but still they exist. And then incineration keeps its share currently, and landfilling manages the rest of plastics. So there's a reduction in plastics waste, most of which is addressed with recycling, and almost total elimination of mismanagement, which translates into a reduction in plastics leakage, which is very, very small by 2050. With this, the costs that we calculate for this policy package, so it's for the region, it's less than 1% of GDP loss in 2050, which is quite limited. However, it's concentrated in the lower middle income countries, which can reach almost 3%. And here I want to focus on the waste management costs. Overall, whether in baseline or policy scenario, there is a need for above $1 trillion for the whole region for waste management. And here we compare the difference between the baseline scenario and the policy scenario when we implement a high ambition policies. And the main message is that when you manage to reduce the total amount of waste, you're also managing to reduce the collection costs as well as waste treatment costs. So for instance, for the APT as a whole, the last bar, you have a reduction of collection in light blue, landfilling in green, and incineration in gray. And that can compensate for the increase in costs for recycling investments. It's the case for the Japan, China, and Korea, so the +3 countries, where there's overall reduction in costs thanks to this reduction in the volumes of waste. However, for instance, for the lower middle income country in ASEAN, so the first bar, you have an increase in both costs for collection and recycling, which increased the total costs by 23% in the region, the total investments that are needed for waste management costs in the region. So I'll finish with these key takeaways from our study. First of all, we want to emphasize that the APT countries are already taking action with encouraging progress. However, this progress is uneven. But already we can see that the region has a recycling rate that is exceeding the global average. So it's 12% when the global average is 10%. So I think it's worth mentioning when we are thinking about comparing countries and monitoring the countries. The APT countries are overperforming compared to the global average. At the same time, they're also countries with with one of the highest mismanagement shares in the world. So it's both, you have extreme in the positive, extreme in the negative part. So it's very contrasted picture. We found that current policies can slow but not reverse recent trends. in the regional plastics leakage. So the share mismanaged plastic waste is projected to decrease, but with the increase in plastics volume, the total mismanaged plastic waste increase, leading to an increase in leakage to the environment. This leakage primarily originates from lower middle income countries in ASEAN and China, about half and half. Ambitious policies and cooperation can end plastic pollution in the region. Main finding was that secondary plastics would meet all growth in plastics demand, allowing primary plastics to stabilize below 2022 level. And the costs are modest, as I mentioned just now, 2.6% in ASEAN and 0.3% in +3 countries in terms of GDP costs, with the largest burden for the lower middle income countries. And comprehensive but tailored strategies are essential for policy effectiveness. There is a need for regional and international cooperation, overcoming the systemic barriers that are, especially for waste management. With that, we also want to recognize that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. The policy design must align with each country's context, capacity, and some preconditions for implementation include adequate monitoring. So I will not go into that, but it's been discussed by the previous speakers. Enforcement is an issue. There's a need for institutional capacity and the integration of informal waste workers, improved access to finance. Slowing down plastics use and waste generation at the source is essential and will help reduce the transition cost for eliminating plastic leakage. Finally, we find that the APT is able to virtually eliminate plastic leakage in the region by its own action. So it has its own future in its hands, but to solve the global issue of plastics pollution, there's still a need for a coordinated global scenario where all of the region in the world act. With that, I thank you for your attention, and I'm very happy for any questions you might have.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ruben. So sharing with us these key findings. It's very interesting to see a lot of progress happening in the region, but still there are a lot of things to do. And also we need a lot of money also, as you show, to improve the situation. So I think these findings are very timely important because when I say ASEAN regional roadmap is going to finish 2025, maybe ASEAN had to think about next regional directions. Maybe these findings very helpful. So thank you very much for sharing this information. So then let me go to another reporting. So my colleagues, Mr. Ran Yagasa, he's a policy researcher, will share with us the 6th G20 report on action against marine plastic litter, which IGS is making secretariat to the Ministry of Environment, Japan. So Yagata-san, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Komara-san, for the introduction. My name is Ran Yagasa, policy researcher at the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. So yeah, let me jump into my presentation. Since 2019, G20 has been compiling a report on actions against marine plastic litter to promote mutual learning among countries and thereby addressing plastic pollution collectively. IGES has been playing the role of secretariat since the first publication. The most recent report was published in 2024 under the leadership of Brazil, then G20 presidency. I'd like to share briefly about the report and the key findings, particularly focusing on utilization of data in policymaking, but also some of the key findings from the measures that the countries are taking where time allows. So the G20 has been sending a strong signal to tackle plastic pollution from an early stage. In 2017, the G20 Action Plan on Marine Litter was agreed to promote group-wide actions on this issue. In 2019, implementation framework for actions on marine plastic litter was established to facilitate the implementation of actions by members. Later in the same year, this framework was endorsed at the summit. Leaders also shared the Osaka Blue Ocean Vision, which calls to reduce additional pollution by marine plastic litter to zero by 2050 through a comprehensive life cycle approach, which is in line with UNEA Resolution 5/14. The vision was shared globally by more than 85 countries, and we trust that it created a momentum towards the adoption of UNEA resolution, which initiated the ongoing ink process. The G20 report of action against marine plastic litter was initiated in 2019 as a follow-up to the G20 implementation framework. Every year, the G20 presidency sent out calls for inputs to update the report. And Japan has been providing support for the preparations. From the beginning, the report was not only intended for G20, but for the global community. So to date, we have a total of 60 countries and 16 organizations and NGOs contributing to the report. And the report on the implementation framework has been referenced in numerous G20 outcome documents as well, as you can see on the screen. So in 2024, we received reports from 23 countries and 7 organizations and NGOs. And this is the list here, 17 G20 members and 6 non-member countries, as well as 7 organizations and NGOs. So this is the table of contents. We have 5 major components. Chapter 2 looks at the policy framework, including national action plans, legal framework, indicators and targets, technical standards, guidelines, and methodologies. Chapter 3 looks at the actual measures taken by countries, those measures across value chain, and we also inquired their action on abandoned, lost, and discarded fishing gear. Also, partnerships with different stakeholders and innovation. Also, we inquired on the whether the countries take monitoring or data management or any activities that tries to understand flow of plastics, both in the economy and in the environment. And international collaboration, best practices, and actions and initiatives by international organizations and NGO follows. While the report provides synthesis of country reports submitted, the detailed country information is also made accessible at our website, where you can access from the QR code right there on the screen. So what I'm going to do today is to quickly go through the content with a bit of focus on policy or legal framework, indicators, targets, and monitoring and data management, then actions. So the first section is about the policy framework. We inquired on whether the countries have national action plans, strategies for managing the marine plastic litter. In terms of national action plan, from 2024 report, we learned that most of us already have in place national action plans. Compared with the previous year, which you can see on the right side of the screen, 76% back in 2023, but now most of the respondents responded responded yes to this component. On the legislation, some has legislations targeting specific issues, while many addressing marine plastic litter under the legislations with broader scope, for instance, those on waste management or circular economy. Examples of the legislation's specific issues include for instance, UK's Marine Strategy regulations and Marine Debris Act of the United States. We also see quite a few legislations targeting most problematic forms of plastic pollution. For instance, European Union Single-Use Plastic Directive and China's Circular Economy Promotion Law that focus on reducing the use of single-use plastics. And countries are also increasingly adapting upstream circular economy principles, for instance, guided by EU's directives on circular design. And also Germany has Packaging Act. Oh, excuse me. Well, in terms of indicators and targets, most countries are adopting marine plastic litter specific indicators to track progress, but on very varying degree and using different metrics and indicators. And in terms of standards and guidelines, in 2024, we also inquired on whether the countries have technical standards guidelines which are critical in guiding behavioral change of actors and bridging national action plans, legislations, and practice on the ground. And more than 80% responded yes, but the detailed picture shows that they focus on different topics across value chain. For instance, production and manufacturing, waste management, recycling, leakage monitoring, and others as well. This slide shows that countries employ a wide range of indicators and targets to track flow of plastics in their economy and the environment, as well as actions to address them and monitor the progress of national action plans. The blue indicates the number of countries that have indicators. Orange represents the countries that not only have indicators, but also targets. Upper left shows the list of indicators and targets for plastic leakage to the environment. Lower left, flow and stocks of plastics in the economy. Upper right, waste flow. Lower right, others mostly targets focused on actions. For instance, introducing ban on single-use plastics, marine litter recovery activities, incentives for use of tap water to reduce the volume of plastic bottles, and such. And here we can see that microplastics on beaches and biotas, plastics consumption and recycling, these are well traced and targets set in many countries. While at the same time, other stages of value chain, for example, the presence of microplastics in wastewater or plastics products import and export, these are less reported. What about the efforts to generate data to inform policy and track progress? We inquired on whether countries are conducting life cycle assessment or material flow analysis of plastics. Also inquired on monitoring, estimation, scientific research on leakage of plastics and microplastics. What we found was that there are gaps in tracing plastics in the economy, LCA, MFA. Well, actions to trace leakage is apparently being undertaken at the national level in about half of countries. But for efficient and effective data for transboundary pollution, international regional cooperation is also important. For instance, through harmonization of monitoring and methodologies and enabling sharing of data. So that there are efforts to continuously monitor the flow and stock of plastics in the economy and the leakage in the environment, and track the progress of national actions, but they're not so widely conducted or at least reported. And indicators and targets, widely vary among countries. And monitoring and reporting programs or mechanisms in place in some countries, but again, not so widely conducted or at least not widely reported. So there's a need to establish data management mechanism at national level and conversion indicators, data collection methodologies, for instance, at the international level to ensure effective implementation of actions to achieve global ambition. In terms of measures across value chain, governments are employing a wide variety of policy instruments across the value chain. For instance, legislative initiatives, development of guidelines and standards to guide subnational governments and or value chain actors, extended producer responsibility schemes, green procurement, funds for supporting actions by diverse non-government actors. Actions on single-use plastics, 20 out of 21 countries responded yes. Improving waste management and recycling systems, 20 countries are implementing these actions. And conducting cleanup activities, all 21 countries implementing. So these are well implemented actions. Those for restricting microplastics in products, and installing capturing equipment for preventing leakage of microplastics to aquatic environment were less reported. This could be the area where countries can further learn from each other and promote collaboration. About the product-specific measures, slightly more countries reported actions on abandoned, lost, and discarded fishing gear than last year, as you can see here. Partnerships and innovation are an area where countries are investing effort as well. This includes encouraging, incentivizing private sector actions, encourage public awareness on marine plastic litter issue through formal education system and or curriculum for promoting curriculum, and promoting innovative solutions through research and development. These are well reported. Our survey also inquired on the challenges faced by countries in addressing the issue of marine plastic litter. As you can see, recycling system improvements and data collection related on marine plastic litter or waste in general. These are well reported challenges. So yeah, there's an issue with the data collection aspect among the member countries as well. These are examples of newly reported efforts. I don't have the time to get into the details, but you can also see these reported efforts on the G20 MPL website. So please do. So what are the implications for global monitoring and reporting mechanism? So in terms of policy frameworks, many countries have already developed for actions. Countries are already taking measures across value chain. For indicators and targets, well, these are adopted in many countries, but in a very varying degree, and countries are using different metrics and indicators. And harmonized metrics can support better assessment and decisions, but again, knowledge gap remains. And in terms of the challenges faced, lack of quantitative data is a major challenge, and reported information varied in volume and quality. And there's a difficulty in terms of comparability of data, tracking changes over time. So we need to take these issues in consideration as well. Currently, the 7th G20 MPO report is being prepared under the leadership of a South Africa G20 presidency. And the first edition will be released at the Climate and Sustainability Ministers meeting in October. And we invite countries to submit their country inputs to our secretariat, and these are the we look forward to your active participation. Please do contact us if you would like to share your country experience and progresses. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Yagata-san, for sharing with G20 reports. I think even though we call this is G20 reports, it's include non-G20 countries information also. I think that's what Yagata-san mentioned. So we are accepting any country who would like to share the information to this report. So then, because of the time limitation, so let me go to our final, last but not least, very important presentation given by Ms. Nao Takeuchi, Program Management Officer, Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter UNEP. This is one of the largest global platform for technical resources integrated data. So Nao-san, so floor is yours. Sorry for keeping you wait.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and Kamara-san, and can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for inviting us as a speaker for this event. I'm very honored. And today I'd like to introduce our initiative called EBPM, and then also its vehicle for the coordination of the multi-stakeholder partnership, which is called Global Plastics Hub. So Global Plastics Hub is a one-stop platform for data, knowledge, and collaboration to end plastic pollution. And I'd like to go deep dive into this platform that has been launched on the World Environmental Day of this year. So before going into the more contents of the Global Plastics Hub, I'd like to introduce what the EBPM and then Global Plastics Hub. So Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter is the largest global multi-stakeholder partnership addressing plastic pollution and marine litter. And it unites government, civil society, academia, and private sector, and so on. And then we have more than 600, almost 700 membership at the moment from worldwide. We have a steering committee, and also UNEP is providing the secretariat support. And in Global Plastics Hub, it used to be called a digital platform. But the GPML UNEP as an organization providing the secretariat service for the Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter GPML. We are mandated by the UNEA Resolution 406 to develop this platform. And this is the largest open source crowdsourced platform on plastics, and in providing the access to technical resources, good practices, data, and network. And then it also connects stakeholders and integrates data to coordinate actions and facilitate target setting and measuring progress is our ambition to achieve under this platform. So this is an existing key features that we have at the moment on the Global Plastics Hub. We have Knowledge Hub, Data Hub, and Community Hub, and then also personalized workspace where you can get an access once you register yourself to the platform. We have more than 2,800 plus technical resources, good practices, case studies, guideline tools, training courses, and so on are incorporated and searchable using AI-powered search engine under the Global Plastics Hub Knowledge Hub. And then under the Data Hub, we integrated 80 plus indicators from global datasets, visualizing plastics in economy, waste management, and legacy plastics in the environment across the plastic life cycle. And then you can also get an access to country dashboard to see the trend of the plastic flow in your country using drawing the global data sets that is currently available on the internet. And also a community hub is connecting more than 2,000 plus global experts, stakeholders, organizations working on in the plastic pollution sphere. And then you can also get connected with the different people and organization, and you can also get familiarized about what organization, who are there and active in the area. And then under the workspace, you can get an access to forums, which is basically the discussion space for the like-minded people. You can get also connected with the different stakeholders and then experts. And then also, if you are country focal points, you will get an access to a country dedicated workflow, which will provide a step-by-step guidance for countries to develop evidence-based national action plans and strategies. And I'll go through one by one. So this is how the Knowledge Hub at the moment is now looking like. So as you can see, on the left side, this is a library, and on the right side is a learning center. And under the library, you can get an access to more than 2,800 resources that can be categorized according to plastic life cycle stages, resource type, geography, and then also different keywords here. And then you can get an access to crowdsourced resources here. And in the Learning Center, you can get an access to more in-depth learning materials, including online courses, masterclass, webinars, and others. And then under the Data Hub, as you can see, we have a global map that showcasing and visualizing the key different indicators on plastic pollution and plastic life cycle, including trade, waste management, leakage coming from the waste management system, and also plastics found in the environment, such as microplastics, floating microplastics, and also beach litter, and so on. And then here, you can also get an access under the Data Hub country dashboard. If you put the country name here, you can get the snapshot of a country or country's plastic flow in both economy and environment. I can go showcase a little bit how the country dashboard is looking like. So this is an example of Kenya, because UNEP is headquartered in Kenya, and we are also working from Nairobi. So as you can see, the country dashboard trade section, for example, is visualizing the UNCTAD trade datasets on plastic imports and exports that was published in 2022. And then as you can see, you really can see where the specific country is positioning themselves in the plastic value chain. In case of Kenya, I think they have lots of exports, mainly for the domestic consumption, and to a certain extent that they are exporting the final form of plastic goods. And then you can see this is the weight, this is the US dollar value. You can see that primary plastics plastics in primary forms is the majority of the plastic imports, meaning that to a certain extent they have plastic manufacturing industry, and then jobs are relied on this. And then they also exporting plastics manufactured goods, final manufactured plastic goods to outside of Kenya. And the waste management, we also provide some data narratives as well as a comparison of different data sets, both at the national estimate and also city level primary data that was collected through the SDG 11.6.1 monitoring program. And as you can see, you can do the comparison, and you probably can have a reasonable estimation for the plastic composition and municipal solid waste generation, and so on. We also provide how much of plastic is leaking from the municipal solid waste management system from this. And in case of which is about in Kenya, 12 kg per person per year of the plastic is leaking into the environment. And also we provide narratives about legacy plastics, getting some data coming from a publication from Florida State University, and also UNEP's SDG 14.1.1.b monitoring about beach litter. And this is a little bit of an attempt that we would like to do this year and in coming years. And we developed this a tool to map the global data sets made available on Global Plastics Hub to see the data consistency and then also gaps, and then also some flaws of how much of the plastics is circulating in the specific countries. And you can see some of those data gaps. For example, in this context, this much of the plastics is calculated as a net amount of plastics in the value chain in this specific country, but some data on the municipal solid waste generation is much higher than this. So some of the data gaps is found, and then we would like to use this to inform the methodology improvement for estimation of such data sets, for example. But for example, you can see this country has got like 100%, having the 100% informality in the plastic waste collection rate. So you can really see plastic waste collection for the recycling is relying on informal sector. So for the specific country like this, the very important policy could be including the just transition of informal and waste sector. So this flow also can be utilized to inform policies and actions that can be incorporated in a national strategy for plastic pollution reduction. And this is a snapshot of a country dedicated workflow where you can get an access to, if you're a country focal point, to develop a national action plan. And as you can see, we have a harmonized methodology and an approach for developing evidence-based national action planning and a strategy development. And then we have a set of steps, including a national steering committee, project team development, establishment, stakeholder consultation, legislation policy review, and national source inventory. We are currently updating this workflow into this more simplified steps. And then here we'd like to introduce more in-depth standardized methodology and harmonized methodology for calculating key indicators on plastics in economy, waste management, plastics in environment, and then also how to do the national source inventory data mapping utilizing this tool. And then I think so many presentations really highlighted the lack of harmonized or standardized methodology to estimate specific indicators. And then the Global Plastics Hub would like to be the space to provide such kind of guidances through this country dedicated workflow. And then this will be informed by the wider network of a GPML, and that is providing lots of expertise and knowledge and experiences in the monitoring of plastic pollution in the environment and also in the economy and waste management, and through the GPML communities of practice. And this is how the country dedicated flow is looking like. As you can see, we can provide a different downloadable reporting template, for example, step-by-step guidance provided in the form of presentation and also video form. And then finally, this is how the community hub of Global Plastics Hub is looking like. You can search the partner network, both individuals and organization, and also geography. And then you can get connected with relevant partners as well. So for the coming years, we would like to be part of the solution and help to shape the Global Plastics Hub to meet your needs. And first of all, we would like to strengthen the contents of the Global Plastics Hub to provide a effective science and policy interface through knowledge and data curation to inspire evidence-based policy making and action planning through continuous expansion of knowledge hub, data hub, and country dedicated workflow. We also envisage ourselves to be the platform to provide improved transparency on plastic materials and sciences through access to best practices, best available science, links to platform on chemicals, and stakeholder dialogue and capacity development for plastic safety and sustainability. And as I mentioned several times, that we can also utilize the country dashboard and also data hub to develop a cumulative progress tracking mechanism that supports countries and stakeholders to track and report progress against the global goals, and then with the shared key performance indicators and harmonized monitoring and assessment methodologies. We also can provide a platform for increased investments in tangible and bankable projects through connecting and coordinating key stakeholders and actors, providing also capacity development for making the project more tangible and bankable. We also would like to gearing up to provide a solution for data-driven policy recommendation on solutions for plastic pollution prevention and mitigation. And then we can probably utilize some power of AI here. And then also we cannot really forget about inclusivity and empowered action involving the different types of groups, including women, youth, and then also disabled persons groups and also. And finally, I'd like to end my presentation with the example of power of data and collaboration. So we partnered with the UN Habitat to collect the data on the waste management and then how much of plastic is leaking into the environment in Lagos back in 2020. And then we found out about almost 30.4 kg per person per year of the plastic was leaking into the water bodies from Lagos, which is equivalent to every single person in Lagos was throwing 10 PET bottles per day, every day. So that was really alarming, and then that actually infused the Lagos's ban on styrofoam and single-use plastics in 2024. And this is really telling that some small data even about what kind of plastics end up being in the environment through waste audit can infuse and inform effective policy and then actions such as single-use plastic ban. And then this story is made available here, so please feel free to have a look at it. And then with this note, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and end my presentation.
Thank you very much, Nao-san. sharing this platform and its impact so far. So it's really interesting. So I know the time is very short. We thought we have a lot of time to discussions, but it's very. But still, there were some questions also came from the audience. So if you allow me, we can ask one question for at least each speaker and before finishing. So is it okay, Yagata-san?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so without not taking much time, I think I also see a lot of questions came to Hase-san also. And thank you for answering them. And but at the same time, so what we feel a lot of questions also ask, what are the key challenges Japan has faced in harmonizing marine plus monitoring methodologies across regions?
Thank you very much. So there have been variations in the existing methodologies, of course. So at the expert meeting for developing guidelines, what we have tried is not to make just one common methodology in too much details, but find out the maximum common factor and minimum requirement and leave a room for discretion for selecting the best method for each researchers. This is why we call it harmonization rather than standardization.
Yeah, thank you very much for this point. It is very important to consider the individual situations when we're looking at this harmonizing. Yes, this is very important. So I saw a lot of questions came audience to the Miss Vasana. So thank you again for you answering most of them. So the another one I thought it is better to if you can a little bit elaborate how has the influence the design and implementation of Thailand National Action Plan data is influence for this development of the National Action Plan.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. For the National Action Plan of the plastic waste in Thailand, we have analyzed the plastic waste leakage assessment in Thailand and identify for the it's like the major source and the type of plastic and the pathway of the leakage of the plastic in the environment. After that, we set the target to reduce the such plastic by the phasing out, or we need to improve for the high recyclability to reduce is such as like a eco design for the product. And right now we link to the EPR scheme on the packaging, so we need the information which one need to change in the design to reduce the waste in the life cycle. If we have the good design, we cannot look at for the final disposal. They can be turned back to the recycle or the circular economy. So it is not like a waste and leakage in the environment. And the important thing at we face right now, because of the information is not linked from the upstream to downstream. So it's the linkage of the information is very important, and the data from the informal sector in Thailand is very important. Sometimes we absent of the data from the informal sector, so we need to include them in the formal system and don't double count for the information or the data. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So this is very interesting and important, how important to integrate this data from the informal sector, because otherwise we lost a larger portion of the information. So thank you very much. So I also see a lot of questions came to Dr. Ruben, and some are asking how we can get this report also. I think elaborating that one also. Can you briefly explain what is the regional trends in plastic production, consumption, and waste management stand out as most urgent for
Yeah.
the region?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kumara-san, and for the questions. The outstanding the most striking trends in the region are still linked to the economic growth in the region, which is projected to be very important. So between now and 2050, plastics use is projected to double and nearly triple in ASEAN countries. So that's very important and quite fast. Waste management is improving, but not keeping pace with growing waste volumes. It's still the same contrasting picture. Recycling is projected to triple from 14 million tons to 45 million tons, reaching about 20% of total waste. But mismanaged plastic waste still increased despite an improvement. So that links to almost 15 million tons of leakage to the environment. Those are the main trends that would happen with current policies. So it's very concerning, and of course we're very happy to discuss the solutions that can be implemented in our report, and to respond to the question of when it's available. It will be available on July 30th. We're launching the report. I'll share the link with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this information. So the same with Yakata-san also. They're asking this, how can access to these reports? And also I would like to ask what mechanism could help institutionalize regular monitoring and reporting? Because I know this report is voluntary reporting. So what do you think?
Thank you, Kumara-san. So on policy side, I think identifying and setting indicators and targets in national action plans, for instance, can help ensuring that are continuously produced and reported at national level. On technical dimension, developing standardized protocols for data collection, creating database for sharing information are both instrumental. And here, initiatives by Japan, Global Plastic Hub plays an important role here, and but also requires financial resources and technical expertise. So the government needs to ensure that enough resources are continuously budgeted for monitoring, compiling the data, and continuously build capacity of responsible institutions.
Thank you very much, Yagata-san. And also this report is freely available from the G20 Marine Litter website. Eh?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So thank you very much. So then let me go to Nao-san. I found in the chat box also there are some questions. So one thing is how to become a member of GPML. This is good news for Nao-san. Also, I would like to ask how can Hub support countries and align their national monitoring system with global frameworks? So Nao-san.
Yes, thank you so much. So if you go to the Global Plastics Hub, maybe I can just quickly show you how to connect to that website. So let me share. So if you can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, so this is how the Global Plastics Hub at the moment is looking like. And then as you can see, Knowledge Hub, Data Hub, and then here, Community Hub. And the second row here, you can find a Join the Partnership. So if you go to this website, this is the place you can fill the information about your organization and then submit the application to join the Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter. So from here, you can have access to the application for the global GPML. And then in terms of how the Global Plastics Hub can really support countries in the monitoring of their progress in line with the global framework. First of all, the global framework is still being developed. However, that especially the country dedicated workflow is the space where the country stakeholders and also the country focal points can get an access to all this training materials, success stories, good practices, case studies, and guidelines also. And we are now at the moment developing the national source inventory part, which we will gradually strengthening with different guidances on how to monitor, estimate specific plastic life cycle key indicators according to the global guidances. And then also the UNEP will be publishing soon the a guideline called the statistical guideline for measuring plastics across the life cycle. And then we are referring that we are basically collecting all those guidance materials according to that framework. And I think that probably will give you some sort of global framework and then also standardized or harmonized globally available monitoring methodologies and then different global data sets that is already existing to fill the data gaps for countries when they don't have resources to collect data. So I think I believe the Global Plastics Hub can really provide lots of guidance materials and then also the frameworks and then for monitoring plastic pollution and then also baselining them towards the national action plan and strategies.
Thank you very much, Nao-san. So I think the ones who asking how to join, so you can use the Global Plastic Hub website link. So we will share it with the members. So thank you very much. And then now we are in the last part. So in the closing remarks, I would like to invite Ms. Natalia Harms, Program Management Officer, Plastics and PADH, Source to Sea Pollution Unit, Marine and Freshwater Branch Ecosystem Division, UNEP, to give us a closing remarks as a co-organizer of this event. So Natalia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mara-san. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, super. Thank you. And what an interesting event. Thank you so much for inviting us and for joining today's important dialogue on promoting evidence-based policymaking. So as you know, UNEP is firmly committed to driving impactful and collaborative action along the plastics value chain. And this needs to be based on robust and comparable data. And you just heard from my colleague now that the Global Plastics Hub of the GPML, the Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter, aims to do just that. So on behalf of UNEP, also allow me to express our sincere appreciation to the government of Japan for their generous support for developing the Global Plastics Hub, and of course for our joint efforts to harmonize how we collect and use data to inform action. And this is done also through our GPML communities of practice, which now also mentioned. So as we've seen today, the hub is already supporting countries through tools like the country dashboard and the stepwise country workflow, which help to translate data into targeted policies, action plans, and also to help stakeholders to measure progress. So I do encourage you to please look at the Global Plastics Hub, sign up so that you can use that stepwise workflow function as well. We recently demonstrated the effectiveness of this stepwise approach for evidence-based action in 19 countries across 3 regions. And in Asia and the Pacific, this includes Cambodia and 8 Pacific small island developing states. But there is much more that we can do here. So we look forward to partnering with you on this. And of course, we're working closely also with partners across the Asia Pacific region, including through the GPML regional nodes and the regional Seas programs. I saw that Mahesh from COPSI also put some information there in the Q&A, so please do have a look on how we work at regional level to localize solutions in line with global goals. I'm also so happy to see Kunwasana. We've worked, of course, with colleagues in Thailand on material flow analysis, monitoring of plastics in the environment, and I'm glad to see progress there. And of course, we've also worked with OECD through COPSI in the past. So it's really interesting to see the findings of this regional report, and we're happy to guide further cooperation as well. And we're also exploring with IGES on how we can leverage the Global Plastics Hub to connect to the G20 Osaka Blue Ocean Vision reporting and to strengthen regional knowledge management and data sharing. So I'm really glad that this is coming along. Please do also keep an eye on our space on the Global Plastics Hub. There will be guidance on using the stepwise workflow for developing national action plans that is forthcoming after INC 5.2. So please do have a look at that space and see how we can support you. So looking ahead, we encourage all of you, countries, partners, all stakeholders, to make full use of all of the tools that you've seen here today to share your learning and your experiences, and also to use the Global Plastics Hub and the GPML. Consider using these as existing mechanisms to support evidence-based actions. So these platforms are really designed to evolve with your needs, and your engagement is essential. It's a way to connect across different partners and data sets and resources. So I invite you all to get in touch with us, share your data, your solutions, your experiences to enrich the hub, help us shape the hub and its features so that it remains most impactful and responsive to your needs. So together we can make sure that we really foster that collaborative action. And as we approach the resumed fifth session of INC in Geneva this August, and noting that this is of course a country-driven process, I think all of us can work better together and leverage these existing mechanisms, including the GPML and the Global Plastics Hub, so that we can also meet national targets, but track progress against global goals as well. So let's work together on this. And I thank you once again for your participation, your commitment. It's fantastic to see this progress. Thank you for working with us as well on this, and your trust on this issue. And we look forward to continuing this journey with you. Thank you so much, Manasan.
Thank you very much, Natalie, giving this very final words. It's really interesting. Thank you for joining with us. And also, I would like to join Natalie to thank all our speakers for your time and efforts and joining with us to make these presentations, and all the participants all the way. I'm sorry, I as a moderator delay a few minutes on this. It's always my trouble, but I think you enjoy and learn from this webinar. And today's discussion with the shared commitment to evidence-based action, and maybe we can work at local, national, and global levels. So let's meet with another webinar and discussing the similar topics or the another one. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.